Right, welcome to this complete army video. It is for the red Tyranids, hoping to involve them a lot more in the league this year. So I've got a finalised list with them with the latest points values. In this video we're going to go through the overall strategy of the army. We're going to go for each of the units. So I'm going to give you the points values. You should be able to see a list for the army in the video description below. 2,000 points is the size of the force. You're welcome to copy this army, take elements from it, and so on. And obviously welcome for discussion and comments as well. So do make use of the comment section below. Let us know what you think of this force, what units you would take out and why, and what units you would add in, and so on. I'll find that useful and interesting to look at, but also other Tyranid players and those thinking of getting into collecting Tyranids as well. Hopefully useful tactical video for you. I plan to link this one up with the deployment tactics series, so both videos should come out together. So here is the list video and all of the units and the build up of the army, and then hopefully a shorter deployment tactics video where we'll go through a theoretical deployment, just showing you how the list works actually on the battlefield, which is very, very important. So hopefully those two videos link up quite nicely for you. So if you like that format and you want to see more for the other factions, then do give the video a thumbs up, and a comment just really helps push the video and encourages us to keep the content coming. So before we get stuck into the video, as you can see, I've put the army onto a real nice background here with the battle mat and then the terrain, just creating this nice backdrop here for this list. So the battle mat, as you can see here, is from GameMat.eu. It's the new map from them, Toxic Badlands, which links in really well with their Fallout Zone terrain set. So the two look great together. So we've formed this table, played a few games across this one. So do check out GameMat.eu. I'll leave links for the mat and also the Fallout Zone terrain set that you can see there in the background in the video description below. There's also a discount code for 11% off across the store for GameMat.eu as well, and they are shipping worldwide. So for the Tyranids, first up is the overall theme for the army. There is the standard idea of Tyranids where you rush at the opponent and then you just go and eat them all up. There's that sort of great devourer kind of theme running with the Tyranids. Yeah, it's not so. You could do it in previous editions, just wipe the opponent out, get into their deployment zone and so on, but 10th edition is different. You need board control, you need your army spread out across the board, you can't castle up in a corner, and you can't rush into another corner aggressively. You've got to be able to spread out around the board, fulfilling secondaries, holding on to objectives spread out all across the table as well, and we'll talk about that in the deployment tactics video. So I've got to build a list that, yes, it's aggressive, and I've got plenty of monsters in the list and so on, but I also need units that can help me to complete secondaries and hold objectives and so on. So bearing that in mind for the structure for this list. So with all those tactics, I still want like a nice monster scuttling swarm style. So you're going to see plenty of scuttling type units, and then a nice feature of monsters on the table here as well. So the theme for these really is like tendrils moving out and heading off. So there's a core as a base, and then tendrils heading out, usually 3. So heading out to each of the no man's land objectives, and that's with monsters and also the infantry pushing up as well, like a nucleus, a base point on the home objectives. That's kind of the theme here for this Tyranid force. It fits in nice with the lore of the Tyranids, like the feeder tendrils and the way their invasions fleets spread out like tendrils across the galaxy. So that's the kind of theme in the lore, and I'm trying to echo that a bit here with this list. I've gone for invasion fleet as the detachment. I've come full circle, I've come all the way back around to that one. Not going to go through all the details on this one, but invasion fleet gives you hyper adaptions. So you pick which one you're going to go for as the game begins. So you can go for every Tyranid unit is going to get sustained hits of 1 against infantry and swarms. So if you're up against a lot of infantry, there's no vehicles on the board, then you can go for that one. Or you got hyper aggression, which gives you lethal hits against monsters and vehicles, and that's for shooting and close combat. That's useful if you're up against like Assimilator and James has got a lot of tanks, then I'll take that just to give you a bit of extra help. And then you can go for the Hyper Adaptation, which is Hive Predators. I rarely take it, but it's there if you need it. If you target a character, you're not a critical hit, you get precision hits coming through. But I rarely go for that one. Usually it's either lethal hits against monsters and vehicles, or I switch to sustained against infantry, depending on who you're up against. I'll refer back to this detachment because it fits in with some of the unit choices really well. So I guess we'll build up. So I'm working on an army that can hold the base, your home objective, and then put 3 tendrils out to go after the 3 no man's land objectives, and then some spare units to work around the flanks, turn up in the deployment zone as well. So it's like an army that's built to harvest points for the primary objectives spread all around the board, and also to go for secondaries dotted around the table as well. So with that in mind, we have the Swarmlord. I'll go to him first. If you like the colour scheme, there is a full tutorial for the Red Tyranids on the channel. Just went for a aggressive colour scheme. Swarmlord's a beautiful model. Well, it's the plastic Hive Tyrant, you can build the Swarmlord from it. Or regular Hive Tyrant, it's one of my favourite models. The Decapitator is called, so I've put a collection of heads at the bottom of his base. That's him. Very intimidating type unit. He probably should have Tyrant Guard to give him a bit of extra protection. Current points cost for him is 240 points. So he's the type that you want to keep alive. That's a lot of points being spent. He is good. So for him, you're looking at 2 up save, 4+ invulnerable save. He's tough enough, but he's not the type of unit you're going to walk out into the middle of firepower. So he's one of the units that's going to go after one of the objectives. Any of them really, there's no real preference, left, middle, right, whichever one. He'll head towards it, but I usually try and play him quite cunning, so I'm going to try and hide him behind cover. Lurk, not take risks. If the opponent directs enough firepower against him, they get past that invuln save with the heavy guns, he can be brought down. So I'd use him carefully. He can let out a bit of firepower and a Psychic Torrent attack, D6+3 attack, strength 5 -1 at 2 damage, range 18. He's generating your CP in your command phase. It really is worth trying to keep him alive. He also gives you 9 inches for synapse, which is cool. And then Malign Presence as well, which has been altered, but he affects the CP ability on an enemy unit. And then really he's built for close combat. He's not going to utterly destroy stuff, but he's good enough at chopping. 8 attacks with him at 2 to hit. Strength 9. He is synapse, so +1 of the updated rules. So strength 10, AP -2, and straight 3 damage. And the great thing about his weapons is they are twin links. You're re-rolling your wound rolls with the bone sabers. So he's not a one-man army. He's not going to utterly wipe out the heaviest of units or chop through entire vehicles and so on, but he's good for the grind, and he's worth protecting, harvesting the CPs. He's a danger on the board. He's very intimidating, and so he, in a lurking kind of way, can go after one of the no man's land objectives. So then we'll cover the one at the base, which would be the Tervigon. Big Mommerish has been called here, but this is the Tervigon. Again, fantastic. Well, I'm not going to show you all of them here, but that's her just there. Now, this is a crucial unit. This one's to hang around at the home objective. So you've now got a very, very tough, dependable unit. 16 wounds, 2 up save, toughness 11. That's a unit that's going to take a fair bit to bring down. On top of that, I usually try and hide and obscure her as much as possible to hang around the home objective. And she's the base for the army, and then for the tendrils to flow out after that. So they'll head off towards the middle of the board, and you're looking at these large Tervigon units across here. I'll bring those in as well. So Tervigon cost is 175, which isn't too bad for the bulk of the model. And then Termagant units. So I'll talk about all of these together. So 2 squads of 20, a squad of 10. It was a third squad of 20, but I reduced them down to 10 to make way for a couple of extra units. So 2 squads of 20, 1 squad of 10. A Strangle Web for every 10. So there's 1 Strangle Web here, 2 Strangle Webs in each of the 20 Gaunt units. So if you can imagine her, she's on the home objective. The smaller unit's going to hang around with her, and then these two large units can stretch out, keeping in range of her, and then stretching out towards at least 2 of the no man's land objectives. Now, the way these work together, Tervigons are OC of 2. They're great for feeding out and heading off towards objectives. And no man's land objectives usually aren't too far away. You can reach them usually like within turn 1. You can get to them quite quick. The downside of Tervigons is they're soft. You know, they're not that great. But with her rules here, spawn Tervigons in your command phase. Say you've lost half your squad, your opponent's been shooting them up on their turn. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Tervigons unit within 6 inches of this model. So they have to keep, and you'll see it in games, I'll try and keep them, even though they're spreading out like a tendril, I'll try and keep the back models always within 6 inches of her, because then you get spawn Tervigons. In the command phase, you can restore D3 plus 3 destroyed models to the unit. She's also going to give them lethal hits of their shooting, a little bit of a bonus. And little strangle webs are quite dangerous as well. The ability, they're a torrent weapon, strength 2 or 3, but when they wound, if you get 6s, you get devastating wounds. Now I'll combine all this combo, which is a really good one. I think it's subscriber suggestions saying this is a great combination to go for. There is a stratagem for invasion fleet called Endless Swarm. In your command phase, up to 2 Endless Multitude units from your army that are within synapse range of your army, or 1 Endless Multitude unit from your army. Yeah, that stratagem's better than I didn't even notice this. So up to 2 Endless Multitude units from your army that are within synapse range. She's synapse range. Let's say you have 2 of these units that have both taken casualties. This one stratagem for 1 CP can affect both. Up to 2 Endless Multitude units from me that are within synapse, or 1 Endless Multitude unit that is obviously not within synapse. But if both are in synapse range, then each of those units can restore D3 plus 3 destroyed models. Now if you stack that with spawn Tervigons, you could have 1 unit that's getting back 2 D3 plus 6 models. That's insane. If you check out some of the battle reports, I've gone down to like 25% left, and then boosted them all the way back up to full strength within a couple of turns. So the ability to regenerate Gaunts is fantastic. Great combination to have. So the tendril can shrink back when casualties come in, and then you can regrow, which is just a really good theme for the Tyranids. So 175 for her, 60 points for the squad of 10, then 120 and 120 for the 2 other squads. It's a great combination. So my base and then some tendrils moving out. That's the purpose of the Gaunts and the Tervigon. So far we've got a decent HQ, but I have to lurk with him, and I've got a base and some tendrils moving out. To reinforce that tendril and to have as a spared, useful, cheap unit that I can hang around with the tendrils, or I can have it over on a flank or outflank with it, and it's sort of a cheap unit that I can use for like picking up secondaries and so on. Just a useful unit to have. It's Neuro Gaunts across there. So a squad of 11, and they're just 45 points. If there's a quirky rule with them, whilst they're in synapse range of a friendly Tyranids unit, it has the synapse keyword. So if they just hang around with a unit, they'll give it synapse, like the +1 strength in close combat and so on. That's useful enough for units that may not be synapse that could do a bit of a boost, like they can hang around with the Carnifexes here, for example, and then give them synapse, which is quite good. So not too much to say about them. Just a gap filling unit. Useful though tactically. I can flank with them, use them for secondaries and so on. So that's those. Then I've built my base. I've got my tendrils, but I still need a bit of punch to push out towards these objectives. I can't put weak tendrils out and the opponent just destroys them. I need a bit of punch and a bit of stickability on those objectives. So first up, and this is a unit that's designed to sit on one of these no man's land objectives. That's the Norn Assimilator. That comes in at 275, expensive enough. And again, I would lurk with this. This isn't one that's just going to rush in your face. It will certainly push forwards, but it'll do it in a stealthy, sneaky, more conservative kind of way, where I'm trying to gain cover, trying to be obscured and so on, just to limit the damage coming through. If I start losing a lot of monsters early on, this list I think will find itself in a bit of trouble. So the opponent can go after them, but they've got to try and come and find this army, as opposed to being presented with it in your face like perhaps previous editions. So the non-assimilator is going to give me a bit of close combat punch. It can fire the harpoon, so 2 shots at range 12, 2 to hit strength 12 minus 3 d6 plus 1 damage. It gives you, against monsters or vehicles, it draws them in, so you get an extra 2 inches on your charge. But really it's close combat. So monstrous Siphon Talons, 6 attacks, 2 to hit strength 9 minus 2, 3 damage, could be strength 10 with synapse. And then you have the Toxin Injector Harpoon for more attacks. 4 attacks, need 2, strength 12 minus 3, and d6 plus 1 damage. So that's good. It's happy to get into the fight. The downside for the non-assimilator, it's better in close combat, but it lacks the invuln save that the non-emissary has. It does no invuln save at all, which is a bit of a problem. So again, I'd just be careful about using it. Try and gain cover, if not obscure the model, if possible. So it already is built for going after a no man's land objective. You've got 2 options. You can go for real hit rolls and wound rolls against enemy units. That's at the start of the first battle round. So if you want to try and assassinate and destroy something, then you can pick that. But usually I go for the second option, which is you select an objective marker. You choose which one you want. If you can reach that objective marker, you'll gain 5+ feel no pain, and you get OC of 15. So a real good unit just to sit on and guard a no man's land objective. So now a bit of support for the Swarmlord. We've got a non-assimilator that is really designed to go after one of those no man's land objectives. So that's about it with him. It's just a decent close combat monster, which is designed to go after the no man's land objectives. Then I have, we'll go with the Carnifexes. They're designed to also push up the board and head off towards objectives. So I've got these 2 here, brood of 2. So now I've got my 3. They'll be supported by other units. But we've got the Swarmlord, he can head off towards one, non-assimilator after the other, and then the Carnifexes, the pair of them, to head off towards another objective on the board. Now I've built those for both shooting and close combat, so they can advance, shoot, fire as they go, and then they can fight in close combat effectively enough. So with those I've gone for the heavy venom cannons, so range 36, d3 shots, 4 to hit, strength 9 minus 2, 3 damage, so you can start picking off things like heavy infantry and light vehicles and so on. And then when they get into close combat I give them the crushing claws, so 4 attacks each, the 2 of them is going to be 8 attacks and even 4s, strength 12 minus 3, d6 plus 1 damage. You've got the blistering assault moves, if you do get shot they'll push further forwards as well. And again, it's another unit I'm not going to put in the face of the opponent, but I'm going to carefully consider where I move. I do need to push forwards, but do so trying to obscure or gain cover at least with them as they push forwards. So some aggressive monsters to push. That's going to make the opponent think twice about getting to no man's land too quick. We've got our tendrils pushing out, and they're all sort of working together. Carnifex points costs is 230 points for both. It's 115 points time for each of them. So then, with the tendrils pushing out, the monsters pushing out, I'm then going to try and support them. And I'm going to do that with some decent heavy firepower and a few extra supporting units as well. So this next one's a bit of fun. It's actually proved tactically a very useful unit. It's one of my favourite sculpts. It's the Mawloc. It's been put in storage for so long, but what a model it is. Always love the look of it. So Mawloc's in the list. I put him in just for the rule of cool, but as I said, tactically he's actually worked out a decent unit. I usually hold him off for a fair while. When he arrives on the board, you get Terror from the Deep. So you can't deploy within 9 inches of the opponent, you've got to be just over 9. But if you land and you have enemy units within 12, then you roll up a dice for each unit. So it's quite disruptive. On a 2 to 4, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 5+, it's a straight 3 mortal wounds. And they have to take a battle shock test as well. So usually you try and pick a nice plumb spot where you've got multiple units, and then dish out some mortal wounds. The other thing with him is when he arrives, all of a sudden this monster's just deep strikes, and usually in like an awkward position for the opponent, and they've then got to they're going to be distracted. They've then got to put resources in to try and getting him removed off the board. And his toughness 10 with 14 wounds, OC 4, which is great, 3 up save. It's got the deep strike ability. In close combat, he's quite shreddy. Like 16 attacks, 3s to hit, strength 8, -2, and 1 damage. He'll shred through light infantry effectively enough. And then he's also got Distensible Jaw attack, which is the one attack needing 3, strength 5, AP 0, 3 damage, but it's anti-infantry 4+, and devastating wounds. And he is 145 points, so quite a cheap monster to add into your list. It's just another monster for the opponent to look at and say, look, all these monsters to try and get rid of. And then with a deep striking monster like that, it's great for helping you fulfill secondaries as well. You know, you're trying to get into a table quarter, trying to get in behind enemy lines, table edges and so on. So quite a useful unit. And he's one that can maneuver around. He's got movement 10, so he can maneuver around quite well. Good for going after secondaries, and quite resilient. He can absorb a fair bit of damage, so a useful asset to have operating at wherever you deep strike him into on the table. So I'm a big fan of the Mawloc, and he is in the list. Mini Mawlocs, I suppose. Same kind of idea. Small deep striker units. Again, this is for harvesting, picking up secondaries and so on. My Tyranid force could be hunted down, the monsters killed, the tendrils battered. But if I've got other units popping up and just raking the points in from one turn to the next, I can usually try and go for quite a high score. So there's 2 squads of Ravenders. You can see them over there. 2 squads of 3. They are cheap enough, 75 points a time. They're usually there to stay out of trouble, but not always. They got deep strike, very useful unit. Movement 10 as well, so once they land they can move off pretty quick. They're tough enough, 5-up save. I give them the extra armor, 4-up saves. They could push that to 3-up and cover. Add 3 wounds, toughness 5, so there's a bit of durability with them. And what's this here? At the end of your opponent's turn, if this unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can remove it from the battlefield. So you've got the ability to take them off the table and bring them back on again. That's a very useful. They are OC1, you know, they're scoring it. They're a unit that can fulfill secondaries and hold objectives and so on. I usually have them off the board and bring them on just at the right point, turn 2, turn 3. And if they do attack though, they're not bad. Surprisingly good actually, 7 attacks each. So a squad of 3 is going to get 21 attacks, needing 3s. Strength 5 -1, and on top of that twin linked. So great for shredding. So not too bad at all. So occasionally you'll see me bring them in and they'll be used in an aggressive way, but usually their role is to help bring in points for scoring secondaries. So Ravenders are in and they've proved very useful. Do check out the battle reports. When you see the Red Tyranids on the channel, check out their games. Played some games against James's Ultramarines, James's Guard, a couple other games on the channel with them, so you can see them in action. And then of course check out this deployment tactics video where I'm going to show you how these actually deploy on the board. The last one's firepower support. The Tyranids do have access to some decent firepower, the best of which, if you're going to go against anti-vehicle, anti-monster, is the Tervigon. I think it's just gone up in points, so it's now 200. 200 points. It was 190. Now I've just checked the list here and it looks like I'm going to have to drop the Gaunts, which is a shame. They're the main throwaway type unit, so I'll leave those. They'll be out of the list because otherwise I'm going to be 2,020 points. So if I drop the Gaunts, that's going to put me at 1,975 points. So a few spare points to put one of the upgrades, one of the enhancements could go on the Tervigon. Swarmlord I don't think you can, but the Tervigon, I could put an HQ or an enhancement on her. Let us know what you think. That's just Games Workshop just changing the points every once in a while. So you can let us know what you think in the comment section, how best to do that. Gaunts, they're handy enough, but the disposable type, you're not too fussed. I've still got some cheap enough units, so it wouldn't be too much of a loss to lose those. And really, they were like a unit to fill in the gap, the spare points. So now the points have gone up. There's no real. It's not too much of a problem losing those. So Gaunts are out, 1,975 points. Anyway, Terranofex, 200 points a time. Definitely want to keep those in. The Rupture Cannon is utterly deadly. It's D6 +6 damage, 2 shots a time. The base for firepower is 3+, which is superb. And then if you sit still, it's heavy, so you can go up to 2s for hits. So usually I'll try and position them as with cover, with good fire arcs, so covering good chunks of the board. And from long range, because they are range 48, they'll have the table covered. And with that kind of range, I'll use that to take on enemy monsters, enemy armor. So that's just to cover me as I go in with the horde units, as I go in with the other monsters. They'll have some very decent heavy firepower to protect them. If the opponent does go after them, returns fire, they're going to need a fair bit of success to try and bring them down. 16 wounds to get through, 2 up save, toughness 12, which is fantastic. Tuck them behind cover, keep a real good high save on them. Plus there's resilient organism, which is once per battle when an attack is allocated to this model. So I think it's before you try and roll your save. But say as Lascan hits come through, say right, I'm just going to go for resilient organism, and you just change the damage characteristic of that attack to 0. So it just knocks one of those shots coming through down. It just makes them, they are very, very tough to get rid of. One of them's dangerous, 2 of them is a problem for any army of monsters and vehicles. So I've got a decent base bit of firepower. They're great for anchoring your objectives as well. They're also pretty good mid-stage or early mid or any part of the game for just pushing forwards onto the no man's land objective. So you push forwards, you've cleared them out of the way. They're a good unit to move up and then anchor and sit on one of those no man's land objectives. So they're not just to be hidden away at the back. They can also push forwards, still using a 3-ups for shooting, which isn't bad. Then make their way towards one of the no man's land objectives, then just park on that and sit on top of it for the rest of the game. They're OC5, which isn't bad. They're going to out OC a lot of vehicles and stuff out there. It's not too bad at all. Plus, it's more monsters in the list, just that intimidation factor. I think is great with the Tyranids. So hopefully that all makes sense. If you've got any questions, let us know in the comment section below. And hopefully the overall tactic of the army has been explained well enough as well. So we've got this base here with the Tervigon, the tendrils pushing out towards the no man's land objectives. If they shrivel up from firepower or close combat, if I can try and keep at least a few models alive within 6 inches, I can start replenishing the models very rapidly actually back onto those units. 2 main tendrils to go out, a little backup unit just lingering at the back there as well. And then monsters to push towards those crucial no man's land objectives, Swarmlord, Assimilator, and the Carnifexes. There's one other model I haven't talked about, there's a Lictor in the list. Again, same thing, an infiltrating unit if I need it, or a flanking unit, whatever I need him for, just a simple unit to add in. He, at the moment, is 60 points, not too expensive. Very, very useful for hiding on an objective with his lone operative ability. The home objective, for example, you can just anchor on that. If I can keep the opponent away from him, he can't be shot at. So a useful unit for holding objectives. So Lictor's in. Then to support the surge, the tendrils, decent firepower of the Terranofexes, and then smaller units helping to fulfill secondaries. 2 squads of Ravenders and a big distraction Mawloc in the list as well. And as we've just mentioned, the Lictor helping to fulfill that role as well. So that's the video. I hope you like this list. Keep a lookout for battle reports for the Red Tyranids. I'm putting them into the league as well, which is really exciting for these. Usually they're left out, but they're in this time. So another Tyranid army. It's got the Leviathan Tyranids as well. So there's 2 flavors of Tyranids on the channel. Hopefully 2 different lists, 2 different styles, different units being featured for them as well. Do give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment if you can. It would be great just to give this one a boost, and check out the deployment tactics video. We'll place these on the board on a full table, and we'll talk about the tactics and the way they're used to give you a real good insight at how these actually play out on the table. And of course check out the battle reports as well to see the army in action. And then for terrain, gamemat.eu, I'll leave the links in the video description below for the mat and the terrain, plus the discount code as well. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.